The rain fell in relentless sheets, drumming against the cracked pavement of the city street. Mia Carter pulled her thin jacket tighter, the fabric doing little to shield her from the cold seeping into her bones. Her sneakers, worn to the soles, squelched with every step as she hurried past the gleaming glass tower of Vanguard Enterprises. The building loomed like a monolith, its lights casting a sterile glow over the sidewalk. Mia kept her head down, her damp hair clinging to her face, avoiding the glances of suited professionals who brushed past her without a second thought. She was invisible here, a 23-year-old nobody in a city that worshipped wealth and status. Her life was a patchwork of odd jobs, cleaning offices after hours, waitressing at a diner that smelled of grease, and occasionally babysitting for families who paid her just enough to keep her from starving. Tonight, she was late for her shift at the diner, and the thought of losing another job twisted her stomach. But something made her pause. In the alley beside the tower, tucked against a dumpster, was a bundle of blankets. At first, she thought it was trash, discarded in the storm. Then she heard it, a faint, trembling cry. Mia's heart lurched. She glanced around, expecting someone else to step in, but the street was empty, the city indifferent. She crouched beside the bundle, her fingers trembling as she peeled back the sodden fabric. A baby, no more than a few weeks old, with tiny fists clenched and eyes squeezed shut against the rain. The infant's cries were weak, barely audible over the storm. Mia's breath caught. Who would leave a child like this? She looked for a note, a sign, anything, but there was nothing, just the baby, shivering and alone. She didn't think. She scooped the bundle into her arms, cradling it against her chest to share what little warmth she had. The diner would have to wait. She needed to get this child somewhere safe. The nearest hospital was a 20-minute walk, and her phone was dead, as always. She started moving, her steps quick but careful, murmuring soft words to the baby even though she wasn't sure they'd help. Inside Vanguard Enterprises, Ethan Caldwell stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office, staring out at the city below. At 35, he was the youngest CEO in the company's history, a man who'd built his empire on ruthless efficiency and an uncanny ability to read people. His tailored suit was immaculate, his dark hair perfectly styled, but his eyes held a restlessness that no amount of success could quell. He'd just ended a call with investors, securing a deal that would net millions, yet the victory felt hollow. It always did. His assistant, Clara, knocked and entered, holding a tablet. Mr. Caldwell, the board wants your input on the new acquisition timeline. Also, security reported a disturbance outside. Some girl was seen near the alley. They're checking the cameras now. Ethan barely registered the second part. Tell the board I'll review the timeline tomorrow. And the girl, what's that about? Clara shrugged. Probably just a homeless person. Security's handling it. He nodded, dismissing her, but something nagged at him. He stepped closer to the window, scanning the street below. The rain blurred everything, but he caught a glimpse of a figure hurrying away, clutching something to their chest. He frowned, then turned back to his desk. It wasn't his problem. At St. Mary's Hospital, Mia sat in the emergency room, her clothes dripping onto the linoleum floor. The baby, now swaddled in a warm blanket, was being examined by a doctor. A nurse, a kind-faced woman named Linda, approached her with a clipboard. You found her in an alley? Linda asked, her voice gentle but probing. Mia nodded, her throat tight. Near the big office building on 5th. She was just there, in the rain. Linda's eyes softened. You did the right thing bringing her here. She's malnourished, but she'll be okay. We need some information for the paperwork. Your name? Mia Carter, she said quietly. And your relationship to the child? Mia hesitated. I just found her. I don't know her. Linda scribbled something, then looked up. We need an emergency contact for now, until social services takes over. Can we list you? Just in case we need to follow up. Mia froze. She wasn't family. She wasn't even stable. Her apartment was a cramped studio she could barely afford, and her life was a constant scramble. But the thought of this baby having no one, not even a name on a form, broke something in her. She nodded. Okay, you can put me down. Linda smiled. You're a good person, Mia. Not everyone would have stopped. Mia didn't feel good. She felt scared, exhausted, and out of her depth. After giving her contact details, she slipped out of the hospital, the rain still falling. She'd missed her shift, and her boss had already texted her a curt warning. She walked home, her mind replaying the baby's cries, wondering if she'd done enough. Days turned into weeks, and Mia tried to move on. She picked up extra shifts, avoided the alley by Vanguard Enterprises, and pushed the memory of the baby to the back of her mind. But it lingered, a quiet ache that surfaced in the stillness of her nights. She didn't know that across town, in the sterile offices of social services, a file was being compiled, one that would soon upend her life. Ethan Caldwell, meanwhile, was drowning in his own world. Vanguard was expanding, and the pressure was relentless. Meetings bled into late nights, and his personal life was non-existent. He hadn't thought about the alley incident until Clara dropped a file on his desk one morning, her expression unusually serious. "You need to see this," she said. "It's about that baby from the alley." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "The one security mentioned?" Clara nodded. "The hospital filed a report, and it somehow ended up with our legal team. The baby's in foster care now, but there's a name listed as the emergency contact. Mia Carter. Does that ring a bell?" "No," Ethan said, flipping open the file. "Why would it?" Clara hesitated. "Because security pulled the footage from that night. The girl who found the baby, she was seen outside our building. And, well, you might want to watch the tape." Curiosity piqued. Ethan followed Clara to the security office. The grainy footage showed a young woman in a soaked jacket, crouching by the dumpster. She moved with urgency, her body shielding the bundle as she stood and hurried into the rain. The camera caught her face for a fleeting moment, pale, determined, with eyes that held a mix of fear and resolve. Ethan felt an inexplicable pull, like a thread tugging at something he couldn't name. "Who is she?" he asked. "We don't know much," Clara said. "The hospital has her contact info, but she's not related to the baby. She just found her and brought her in." Ethan leaned back. The image of the girl burned into his mind. "Find her," he said. "I want to know more." Clara looked surprised but nodded. "What's this about, Ethan?" He didn't answer. He wasn't sure himself. Mia was wiping down tables at the diner when her phone buzzed. She ignored it, assuming it was another bill collector. Her life had settled into a fragile routine: work, sleep, repeat. But when the phone buzzed again, she glanced at the screen. An unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Hello, Miss Carter? This is Clara Nguyen from Vanguard Enterprises. We'd like to speak with you about an incident a few weeks ago involving a child you found." Mia's heart sank. Had she done something wrong? I just took her to the hospital. Is something wrong?" "No, nothing's wrong," Clara said quickly. "Our CEO, Mr. Caldwell, would like to meet you. Could you come to our office tomorrow?" Mia's mind raced. The CEO? Why would someone like that care about her? She wanted to say no, to stay invisible, but curiosity and a nagging sense of duty made her agree. "Okay, I'll be there." The next morning, Mia stood outside Vanguard's tower, feeling like an imposter. Her best outfit was a faded sweater and jeans, and she clutched her bag like a lifeline. The receptionist led her to a sleek elevator, and soon she was in a conference room that smelled of leather and money. Ethan Caldwell entered, and Mia's breath caught. He was younger than she'd expected, with sharp features and an intensity that made her feel exposed. "Thank you for coming, Miss Carter," Ethan said, his voice smooth but guarded. "I understand you found a child outside our building." Mia nodded, her hands twisting in her lap. "Yeah, she was in the alley, in the rain. I couldn't just leave her." Ethan studied her, his gaze piercing. "Most people would have walked by. Why didn't you?" Mia shrugged, uncomfortable. She needed help. Anyone would have done it. "No," Ethan said firmly. "They wouldn't." The room fell silent. Mia shifted, unsure why she was here. "Is the baby okay?" "She's in foster care," Ethan said. "Stable, thanks to you. But I want to know more about you, Mia. Why you stopped? Who you are?" Mia bristled. "I'm nobody. I work, I pay my bills, barely. I don't have some big story." Ethan leaned forward, undeterred. "You're wrong. You're someone who saved a life. That's not nothing." Mia didn't know how to respond. She wasn't used to being seen, let alone praised. Ethan's questions continued, gentle but persistent, and she found herself opening up about her struggles, her loneliness, the way she'd always felt like she was one step from falling apart. Ethan listened, his expression unreadable but attentive. What Mia didn't know was that Ethan was wrestling with his own ghosts. Her story, Her quiet resilience, her selflessness, stirred something in him. He'd spent years building walls, convinced that success was the only thing that mattered. But Mia, with her worn shoes and unguarded honesty, was a crack in that armor. Over the next few weeks, Ethan found excuses to see her. He offered her a job at Vanguard, not out of pity, but because he saw potential in her. Mia, wary but desperate, accepted. She started as an administrative assistant, her days filled with tasks that felt foreign but doable. Ethan checked in often, claiming it was about her progress, but their conversations always drifted to something deeper: her dreams, his regrets, the baby they both couldn't forget. The turning point came when social services called Mia. The baby, now named Lily by her foster family, was facing an uncertain future. Her foster parents were struggling, and there was talk of moving her to another state. Mia, listed as the emergency contact, was asked if she'd consider temporary guardianship. "I can't," Mia told Ethan, her voice breaking as they sat in his office. "I'm barely keeping myself together. I don't have money, or space, or anything." Ethan didn't hesitate. "You have more than you think, and you're not alone." He didn't mean it as a promise, but it felt like one. Together, they navigated the legal maze, with Ethan pulling strings to expedite the process. He paid for a lawyer, found Mia a better apartment, and even set up a trust for Lily's future. Mia was overwhelmed, torn between gratitude and suspicion. Why was he doing this? What did he want? The truth came out one night, as they sat in Mia's new apartment, Lily asleep in a crib nearby. Ethan, usually so composed, looked vulnerable. "I grew up in foster care," he admitted. "No one ever stopped for me. I built all this," he gestured vaguely, meaning Vanguard, his empire, "to prove I didn't need anyone. But you stopped for her. You reminded me what it means to care." Mia's eyes filled with tears. She hadn't seen it, but her act of kindness had rippled outward, touching not just Lily but Ethan, and now her. She reached for his hand, and he didn't pull away. The climax came at a court hearing, where Mia was granted temporary guardianship of Lily. Ethan was there, his presence steadying her. As they left the courthouse, Mia holding Lily and Ethan carrying her bag, a reporter snapped a photo. The story of the poor girl who saved a baby and the CEO who helped her went viral, a beacon of hope in a cynical world. But for Mia and Ethan, it wasn't about the headlines. It was about the family they were building, not perfect, but real. Mia, once invisible, had become a symbol of humanity's quiet power. And Ethan, who'd thought he had everything, found what he'd been missing all along. Years later, Mia would tell Lily the story of that rainy night, not to boast, but to teach her what she'd learned. That kindness, no matter how small, could change the world. And in the warmth of their home, with Ethan by her side, Mia finally believed it herself.